when Carlos Ghosn was speaking, he spoke about trial conditions in Japan, but he said it wasn't the judges calling the shots, it was the prosecution.
It was the prosecutors. Well, that's actually something that is quite well known in Japan, in that prosecutors build their cases, and judges, they tend to be skewed towards the prosecution in all trials. That is part of the reason why it's very difficult in Japan for lawyers to obtain a non-guilty verdict, especially in cases like this. Carlos Ghosn, if you remember, he was arrested by Tokyo District Prosecution's Office's special prosecutors. Those are the people, it's a special team that's dedicated to investigating a case, whereas most of arrests that are made in Japan, obviously, if it's a simple crime of robbery or murders, then usually it's the police that arrest a suspect. And the 99.4% conviction rate does not actually apply to all arrests. It doesn't mean that if you're arrested in Japan, the 99% of the case you end up in jail. It's because prosecutors normally, they're very careful in not losing a case. So they only take up cases where they're absolutely confident to win. That's where that high conviction rate comes from. But if you think about how Carlos Ghosn was arrested, then the investigation, with help from Nissan, with a lot of information from Nissan, which Carlos Ghosn himself calls a conspiracy and false accusations, it's the prosecutors who actually spent months preparing for the arrest. And when it's prosecutors themselves that make the arrest, then obviously the conviction rate is very high, because they wouldn't have taken up the case otherwise. So it's true. And also, traditionally, judges have more often than not sided with prosecutors. That doesn't mean, though, that they've won 100% of the cases. There have been some high-profile cases, especially economic crimes, that resulted in a non-guilty verdict.